This will transform all our jobs and our lives over the next 10 years. Thus, it is important that we recognize this phenomenon and to advocate for the responsible use of artificial intelligence. In a small way, the Scanning the Artificial Intelligence Landscape project team hopes to jumpstart a signature campaign to advocate for the responsible adaptation of artificial intelligence. Thank you for your presence and your interest in these webinars, and we hope that we will be working together in one way or another in transforming society for a better tomorrow. Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you very much, Father Tito Soquinho, for that warm message for all the participants in this afternoon's webinar. By the way, I am Ms. Desiree Dale, the multi-sectoral are in charge of SAIL 2.0 project. So if you've noticed, we are emphasizing that this series of webinar is not really on the technicalities of AI, but more on the societal impact, because we would like to raise more awareness in the different sectors, especially across the country, on what is really AI and how will it impact the society, especially our country, Philippines. So I'd like to emphasize that the rationale behind the seminar is first, basically, as mentioned, it's to really raise awareness on the AI technologies impact to society, especially on the selected sectors. We have first the transportation and storage, we have retail, we have agriculture, fishing, and forestry, we have finance, we have education or academe, we have your manufacturing, we also have your administration and your government. So these are the sectors that the project SAIL 2.0 have looked into to really focus, especially on how AI will be impacting them. At the same time, other than looking into the impact of AI in the society, we are also advocating for responsible adoption of AI. And during the process and during the series of seminars, we are hoping that the participants of the series of webinars will be joining us and will be with us in our advocacy to come up with a policy that we are hoping to be adopted and be accepted by the government and be able to be submitted later on to the lower and upper house for us to really put everything in place and make sure that the measures are there for the negative externalities will not so much impact the whole society. Okay, so actually we have two speakers for this afternoon. The first speaker is Miss Christine Estulid, RMT, our Registered Medical Technologies. She will be discussing with us retail. After the retail discussion or topic, we will have the second speaker. We will have Engineer Rodolfo G. Doromal Jr., who will be discussing and sharing with us data on transportation and storage. For our participants, if you have any questions, please hold on and keep those questions at the end of the second speaker, because we will have our time for the open forum. We will give you the time and chance to ask questions to our researchers and be able to share more of the information that they have. So just a reminder, please keep your audio on a mute or on silent mode, and you can turn on your video, you can turn it off. As long as during the discussion, we are requesting everyone to turn the audio up for everyone to really learn from the lecturers. So we would like now, help me welcome Ms. Christine Estulid, speaker for our retail on AI. Ms. Estulid, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Can you please confirm if my audio is clear on your side there? Okay, thank you for confirming, Father and Sir Alfred Reverend. Again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and please accept my appreciation for you joining here in our webinar. So again, our webinar for this afternoon will be divided into two sessions. I will be the first speaker in the first session where we will discuss about the different AI technologies in retail, and we will also discuss the possible positive benefits that these AIs could provide to the retail industry, as well as the negative externalities of these AI technology. Right? Can you please confirm if my slide is already visible? Yes. All right. So, by the way, my name is again Christine Tulid. I am a registered medical technologist. Currently, I'm working as a college teacher in Colegio Agustin, Bacolod, and I'm also one of the researchers of the project SO2, of course, of Colegio Agustin. So this will be the flow of my discussion. We will define AI in a general sense, and of course, in the context of retail, we will also get to know the different insights on the integration of AI in retail industry, more especially here in the Philippines. I will also provide you some of the jobs here in the Philippines that have high automation potential. And yeah, I will also provide you some of the AIs or artificial intelligence that nowadays are or currently available in the market. And aside from their functions, I will also provide you the negative externalities that these AI technologies can brought on the retail industry and in society in general. And we'll get to know the type of intelligent technology that um, we use during this pandemic. So AI, or artificial intelligence, is a simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimic the actions of humans. Today, we find these AI technologies incorporated in the business operations, more particularly in the customer service, which increases what we call customer retention and customer loyalty. AIs are also incorporated in different CRM platforms, which provides different marketing strategies in just a short span of time. AIs can also help in increasing sales and enhance inventory through the use of data analytics as well as machine learning. Machine learning and deep learning are used in order to convert simple but valuable information or data about our customers. That would include the different products that our customers are interested in, the products that the customers usually buy from a specific store. It also includes the um, online activities of the customer, online shopping activities, and also the usual time or season these customers would buy these products in a specific online store. And these data, right, again, even though they are just simple data, they can actually be processed in order to provide insights or recommendations that can be used as basis in creating those marketing strategies in a short span of time. AI and CRM automates marketing activities. Predictive analytics helps retailers to identify which customers are likely to buy certain products. Cloud enables AI workloads that would require a large volume of data to be stored and processed. And these workloads would include your product recommendations as well as demand forecasting. Now, in general, these AI technologies could greatly benefit businesses in a sense that they could help in improving the business operations, make the business operations more efficient by eliminating those waste or lag time in the operation. And this one could make the business in general to become not only domestically but globally competitive. With the use of data analytics, predictive analytics, businesses can now have what we call an opportunity to make fast decision, um, probably because of those recommendations and the next best actions that are provided by the data analytics. And of course, AI in CRM could help businesses to ensure customer retention and customer loyalty by providing or by enhancing that specific customer experience. Now, experts in the Philippines predict that automation will gain major traction in the next 3 to 5 years, but that specific process of converting or transitioning to automation will have to take a lot of time. Most especially, there are a lot of considerations that business owners or executives should take into consideration first. There are factors that need to be considered first, one of which would be money, right? And money that will be used to invest in the AI adoption. Secondly, money for the severance fee in case there will be a downsizing of employees or laying off of employees as the effect of AI adoption. Number three, since this is a step where business operations will need to be um, upgraded, this specific step uh, will of course need that specific restructuring process, and that process alone has its corresponding costs. So or companies that are trying to automate the business operations will really have to prepare financial resources to sustain that specific restructuring cost. And another thing is that once AI was fully adopted in the business operation and the business operation itself is upgraded, the employees will have to, undergo retraining or reskilling so that they will easily adapt to the new system, to the new system in which it is already AI driven. Agriculture ranks first for the most automatable work, having 6 million jobs that can be automated, while retail ranks second, having 3.4 million jobs that can be automated. So as you can see, in the retail industry, there are a lot of jobs that have automation potential. But then again, not all of these jobs can be simultaneously automated in the near future. The transitioning of these jobs to automation will have to be gradual. It does not necessarily need to be converted into automation in a very short span of time. According to National Labor Organization, ASEAN's retail industry, which the Philippine retail industry belongs to, appears to be the least threatened by up and coming technologies. And technology in ASEAN's retail sector is not yet set to displace workers widely. As I've mentioned, there are a lot of jobs in the retail industry that have automation potential, but then again, due to some factors, due to some limitations in the transitioning process, the having these jobs to become fully automated in the next couple of years might not be that possible. Again, transitioning to automation will take a lot of time. Will have a lot of preparations to do on the part of the business owners or the executives. Now, here are the examples of the jobs which have tasks that have high automation potential. These are the jobs in the Philippines. We have the automotive glass installers and repairers, body and related repairs, service technicians and mechanics, and we have motorcycle mechanics. And this is actually the result, or one of the results of the McKinsey Global Institute, or a study of the McKinsey Global Institute. Now let's have the different AIs in retail that again are now available in the market. And yeah, for the information of everyone, I have not included the specific name or the brand of the AI technology, because we won't want, or we don't want them to be advertised here in our presentation. So the first in line is the AI technology that could find hesitant shoppers. This AI could really help our online retailers in increasing conversion rates, where hesitant shoppers are converted into sure buyers of the products of the online retail store. So this AI technology's job is, of course, to gather data about the customers, most especially in their online shopping activities. Using that data, the AI can now categorize the customers into three. One would be the sure buyers, the other one would be the non-buyers, and the third one is the hesitant shoppers. When we say sure buyers, these are the customers who consistently make uh, purchases in the online store. When we say non-buyers, these are the visitors of the stores that don't have any add to cart activities. We usually call them as window shoppers. And then the last one is the hesitant shoppers, wherein these customers have high add to cart activities, but then because of some reasons, they wouldn't make the final purchase of the product. The AI will focus or target um, the hesitant shoppers. And what it does is it will give um, promotional or discount coupons or vouchers to these hesitant shoppers every time they go online or every time they visit the online store. Sometimes these AI could send these promotional coupons or discount vouchers to the email or registered email of the customers. So the provision alone of these discounts will pique the interest of the customer and can somehow motivate the customer to use those discounts or promotions to purchase a product from the online store. But here's the catch: the promotional or discount vouchers and coupons come with what we call countdown features. So the countdown features, the presence of countdown features will really put pressure on the customer and will really cost the customer in using the product, or I mean, using the vouchers or the coupons before the time runs out. So in this sense, AI now can help retailers to convert those hesitant shoppers into sure buyers of the products of such online retail store. Next, we have the smart virtual assistants. They are considered as partners of sales representatives. And what they do is that they proactively communicate or reach out to the customers and ask the customers if they would want additional services or products to be purchased from the company, or if the customer already has the demo product of the company, the virtual assistant will update the customer and then ask the customer if he or she would want to purchase the actual product itself. So if the customer would agree for purchasing the actual product, it's now the job of the smart virtual assistant to schedule a meeting where a live sales representative will transact with the customer. So in this case, the smart virtual assistant is now an aid in converting those leads or potential sales into sure sales, increasing now the sales of the company. Smart virtual assistants are very good in that they lessen the workload of the sales representatives. They provide the opportunity for the sales representatives to just focus on closing deals, on closing sales, rather than reaching out or doing other mundane tasks such as reaching out to the customers and updating the customers about the products and such. Next, we have chatbots, which are widely used in today's digital era. Chatbots are bots that are trained or programmed to provide that specific expected responses to the customers. These bots are incorporated in different communication platforms such as Facebook, Messenger, Twitter, Instagram, and even WhatsApp. Now, through these chatbots, retailers can now provide notifications about the products or ongoing promotions on the products to the customers. And what's good about these chatbots is that they can be available 24/7. So if a customer has an issue about the product or has inquiries that need to be answered as soon as possible, we have the chatbots that can provide those answers or solutions in a short span of time. And yeah, this now makes customer service, or this now brings customer service into a higher level. Next, we have the smart search bar, which provides that specific fun and convenient online shopping experience for the customers. So the smart search bar apps, it has this search by photo feature in which customers can now easily find the products that they want in the online store by just uploading a photo of that specific product or material. So for example, that customer is looking for a long-sleeved white shirt. He or she just need to upload a photo showing a long-sleeved white shirt, and then the AI, the smart search bar, will just read it and understand it, and then provide it, provide the customer the list of products showing similar designs or the same designs as what was provided in the image. Next, we have the in-store behavior tracking system. The previous AI technologies are usually used to improve the online retail shopping experience of the customers. Now, the in-store behavior tracking system is an AI that could be beneficial to the physical retail stores. Now, what this AI does is that it provides retailers with key information about the customers, key information such as the usual products the customers buy in the store, what area in the store the customers usually, frequently visit, and this AI can also provide the numbers or statistics on um, how many customers in a day the retail store will accommodate. Now, all these informations can be provided by just processing CCTV recorded videos. There's no need for um, there's no need for the thermal sensors or any other third-party devices that could track the behavior as well as the behavior of the customers, as well as the number of the customers going in and out of the retail store. So these are the general benefits of the mentioned AI technologies. They could help their retailers to ensure customer retention and to increase conversion rates. There will be also increase in sales and return of investment, and AI can easily provide the trends that needed in creating marketing strategies. Now let's talk about the impact of these AI technologies in security, on human behavior and attention, and on the employment. Now, in the context of security and privacy, we have chatbots. Again, these chatbots can be beneficial in improving that so-called customer service um, if they are used as they are intended. But If they are programmed and used by online criminals, such as hackers, they can become a potential weapon in phishing valuable information, personal and sensitive information from unsuspecting customers. So the modus operandi of these hackers is that they would design or train or program a chatbot and disguise this chatbot as the bot of a legit company. And then once deployed, these chatbots will reach out to the customers and inform the customers of good news, which usually involve money, such as refunds or the possible refunds for unused services. But here's the catch, the chatbots will then inform the customers that the refunding process will not push through or could not push through because the company couldn't find the account or the information of the customer in their system. So then the chatbot will provide it's the specific online form that the customer need to fill out. And once filled out, of course, those information that will be provided in the form include the full name of the customer, the address of the customer, the phone number, and even the credit card details of the customer. Now, once the transaction ends, hackers now have the valuable information about the customer, and they can use these information to commit more identity fraud online. And what would be the effect of this experience to customer? Of course, it could cause trauma to the customer. They will start to distrust the online customer service, which can become can put pressure and can now become a challenge to the live customer service representatives. So for the information of everyone, customer service representatives sometimes need the personal information of customers, the name, the address, phone number, and even the credit card number in order to confirm or verify the account of the customer. And in doing that, they will be able to help the customer with the issue agent to go really bad, right? And not only that, it will affect the relationship of the company as well as the customer. Next, automation can have an effect on employment. But this specific effect is actually dependent on the level of AI adoption that will be done by the company. If the company sees that employing or using an AI that would necessarily replace all human employees, then there will be a great possibility of massive downsizing of employees, of massive displacement of workers. If the company would want to employ or would want to use an AI technology, but this technology does not necessarily replace or substitute human employees, but yeah, does not necessarily replace human employees, the employees will still need to be retrained or reskilled so that they could adapt, they will be able to adapt to the new system in the business operation. The displacement of work of employees could actually have a benefit to the company. Number one, there will be reduction in the staffing cost. There will be no employees or less employees that need to be salaried, that need to be provided with insurance and other benefits. And of course, since the business operations now rely on machine, there is an expectation or there is now an expected increase in output, right? Since no human factor can, well, somehow delay the business operation. Human factors such as the physical and emotional state of the employees companies after the displacement. Of course, they need to provide severance fee to the displaced workers. And aside from that, as I've mentioned, transitioning to automation would require or could incur restructuring cost. Next, the responsibility of the government to the displaced workers. Of course, there should be the provision of social benefits and financial aids, and there should be retraining programs provided by the government so that these displaced workers will get a new set of skills that may become valuable once they try to find another employer. Um, the displacement can also have an effect on economy. It may depress on the economic growth, especially if the displacement is quite massive. Depression in economic growth brought upon by decreased consumption. Other industries will also be affected by this displacement. Some of these would be the niche properties, which include the dormitories, the rental houses, what else? Boarding houses, cigarette, food and beverage, as well as the clothing industries can also be affected. Now, these displaced workers will need, of course, to find a new employer, a new company that will hire them. But the probability of getting hired is actually dependent on the skill level, skill specialization, educational background, add to that the experience, as well as of the age of the displaced worker. If their qualifications fit to what would be um, fit on what the employers are looking for, then they have higher probability of getting employed. They can be employed in companies in the same industry, but with traditional business operations, which means they have not yet um, shifted or transitioned to automation. They can have elementary occupations and non-automatable jobs. And the salaries and benefits could vary depending, of course, on what industry they're in, what company that hired them, and in what position they got. As for the unemployed um, group of the displaced workers, they need to be retrained. Some of them they need to study in order to get that experience, get that set of skills that will become valuable for their next employer. Some of these jobs that have actually high automation potentials are we have the technical sales and billing support team in the retail BPO. In the physical retail stores, we have the cashiers. They really have high automation potential. Salespersons and marketers in the physical retail stores don't necessarily, or they are their job does not necessarily considered or does not necessarily considered as fully automatable, but there can be a reduction in number of these salespersons and marketers in the physical retail store. Now in retail BPO, even nowadays, some of the BPO companies are now using AI-driven softwares. And right now, the support team in the technical sales and billing department are continuously trained so that they will become adept in using the new system. Marketers will also need to be retrained and reskilled once automation is employed in the business process. Automation, despite its negative effect on employment by having this displacement effect, automation can actually brought out new opportunities. But for those individuals who are more on in IT, in engineering and data analytics department. And those people working in IT firms, those IT specialists, engineers, and data analysts have can have higher benefits and wages compared to the rest of the workforce. Now, in the context of the impact of AI in consumer behavior and attention, AI can, yeah, somehow indirectly control decision making of the customers. Now, consumer decision making of the customer can be affected by two factors. We have the internal and external. When we say internal, yes, this is something to do with the negative feelings of the customer that usually pushed them to find an outlet. And usually, those customers which have negative feelings have higher buying online or higher buying activities online. And for the external factor, we have the brand. The customers will only buy the products because they trust the brand. Now, the digital world, and we already have these AI-driven functions in the different applications that we use. Um, Online shopping has now become more convenient, and this convenience usually indirectly push consumers and customers to purchase products that are not necessary and products that are too costly or too expensive. And if this has become a cycle, this can now be considered as a compulsive buying behavior or disorder. And the effect of such activity will be the following: cross social, cross financial, as well as personal difficulties. Now, we have an intelligent technology that for many years have been used by us, but we just don't, we're not just aware of it. Even before the pandemic, we're using this type of technology, and that is known as the predictive search. We usually see this incorporated in our online shopping apps. This technology helps determine what the customer is looking for by analyzing past click-through behavior, history, and preferences of the customer. So I'll give you an example how predictive search works. So example, you're a new customer to an online platform, an online shopping platform, let's say Shopee. Again, I don't want to advertise Shopee. I'm just taking it as an example. Let's say you are a new customer to the Shopee platform, right? And what you want to search or what you want to purchase would be women's bag. You're looking for a particular women's bag. So the first thing that you will do is, of course, to search, to type the word women's bag on the search bar. And that word has now become a valuable data that will be used that will be used later on. Next, once you type the women's bag in the search bar, the system will then give you a list of products showing you women's bags from different shops. After closing the transaction, you log out of your account. Then the next time you log in back to your Shopee account, um, in the home tab, you will really see there the recommended products. But you will be able to observe that most of those products are actually women's bag. Now that is the work of the predictive search. It provides you recommendations based on your past click behaviors, your past searches.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lilid. For the participants, sorry for some technical glitches, for the internet glitches. But as per information coming from Ms. Lilid, she's about to wrap up everything with her last topic on predictive search. So hopefully you enjoyed and you've learned something from the retail topic of Ms. Tulid. And she've mentioned so much about what will be the role of AI, what will be the topic, what will be the function of AI in retail, and how would it affect the retail industry in the upcoming years if will be able to adopt it. So now I think we're now ready to move on to the next topic. So let's all welcome Engineer Rodolfo G. Drumal Jr. for Transportation and Storage. Sir Drumal, good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yes,
Can you hear
sir.
me?
Yes, sir. Please
Okay,
take over.
so
Thank you very much.
I'll just share my screen. So good afternoon once again. So we're done with the first part. So now let's proceed with the second part, which is the transportation and storage sector for the artificial intelligence. So I am Engineer Rodolfo Durmal Jr., the Project SAIL 2.2 researcher for the transportation and storage sector. So uh, so let me start with discussing. So I want you to actually, uh, for today's presentation, so I will not be talking about the technicalities about machine learning, data analytics, deep learning. So I want to showcase what will be the impact of artificial intelligence in the transportation and storage sectors. So but before that, so saan ba talaga galing yung artificial intelligence? So let me walk you through the history of Industry 4.0. So actually, the first industrial revolution, or that's the Industry 1.0, took place between the year 1760 and 1840. So this period was actually marked by switch from hand production to manufacture to the use of machines powered mostly or mostly by the steam and water. So uh, in this era or in industrial revolution, the mechanical production equipment powered by steam and water took place. Then the second industrial revolution, or what we call the Industry 2.0, refers to the period between the years of 1980 to 1914. So actually, this is the 19th century. The Industry 1.0 is the 18th century. So the Industry 2.0 is commonly referred to as the technological revolution. So here, the mass production assembly lines requiring labor and electrical and energy took place. So during this period, advances in technology made it possible for communications, transportation to be improved. Then next is we have actually the third generation, the third revolution, which is the Industry 3.0. Actually, it occurred in the second half of the 20th century. So this is the 20th century. This revolution is known as the digital revolution. So automated production using electronics and information technology took place. Then, so here we have right now, today, the fourth industrial revolution, or what we call the Industry 4.0. So here is the marked by the digitization of manufacturing and computerization industry. So intelligent production incorporated with the Internet of Things, cloud technology, and big data. Now, the Industry 4.0 actually it is the approach of combining the traditional manufacturing processes and technology such as the Internet of Things, the artificial intelligence, and uh, of course, to improve automation, communication, and the use of real data. So actually, in Industry 4.0, we'll be talking more about artificial intelligence and automation. So others define Industry 4.0 as the smart networking of industrial devices and processes with the assistance of information and communications technology. Of course, the primary application of Industry 4.0 will be for smart factories. So Industry 4.0 can also lead to smart ports with automated cranes capable for loading cargo into ships without human involvement. So this is really applicable for transportation, storage, and logistics. The transportation industry will also be heavily impacted as automobiles, trains, and planes become increasingly automated, reducing dependencies on drivers, pilots, and conductors. Now, actually, uh, in Industry 4.0, automation really took place in this era. So automations of activities can enable business to improve performance by reducing errors and improving quality and speed, and in some cases, achieving outcomes that go beyond the capabilities of the human. In robotics, so in advances in robotics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. So of course, we see there that these three terms is ushering in a new age of automations as machines match or outperform the human performance. So I have here a reference from the McKinsey or the MGI or the McKinsey Global Institute. So this is in their research, it shows that the ability to automate, across different sectors. So depending on the mixed activities that we have. But I want to focus more on the transportation and warehousing. So in their research, 57% has the potential to be automated. So that's for the transportation and warehousing. So the first one, the 73% is we have the accommodation and food services. But let me show you, let me focus on the transportation and warehousing. So it's 57%. Okay, so again, that's 57%. Now, artificial intelligence is critical to making sense of data. But what is an artificial intelligence? So actually, there's a lot of articles that define what is artificial intelligence, but uh, there is no universally accepted definition because the meaning of intelligence is arbitrary and AI is moving target. But according to public transport experts, they define AI by its ability to learn, okay, and to adapt, mimic, as well as exhibit creativity, and to fulfill its purpose to improve existing processes. So that is how the expert define, the public transport expert define AI. So AI is integrated in our daily lives, di ba? So every day, we just don't recognize it, but it is there. AI is integrated in our daily lives. Imagine personalized recommendations in your phone, automatic, right? Image recognition, then the visual or the virtual assistants. So every day, as we work, as we go to our work, school, AI is just everywhere. Now, other define artificial intelligence as a technology that fuels machines with human intelligence. Machines that have AI capabilities can automate the manual task. The transportation and logistic industry is responsible for actually the procurement, storage, and distribution of the products. Automation of activities can enable business to improve the performance by reducing errors and improving the quality and speed of some of the achieving outcomes that go beyond the human capabilities. The transportation and actually logistic is responsible again for the procurement, but the current internet age is continuously evolving and the technology has always played an important role for transportation and logistic industry, which is to adapt the changes. So here, again, another report from the McKinsey Global Institute that according to them in their research, transportation and logistics industries will benefit from AI, a potential incremental value of 89%. Okay, so actually in their study, number one there is travel. Second is the transportation and logistics. So that is how transportation industry benefit from AI. But for this percentage, what will be the effect of AI in our workforce later on? So in the later part of the report, actually there's a report from the Manila Bulletin of what will be the percentage or how many Filipinos will be affected uh, for the implementation of AI. So again, it's 89%, potential incremental value of 89% that the company will benefit from AI. What are innovations in the transportation and logistics industry? So actually, there's a lot of innovations. There's a lot of technologies that already existing in the market. So I will just name some of these technologies in general so that we could have, actually, there's a lot, so we will just name some or few or the prominent ones. So first is the robotic transportation and delivery solutions. So robotic transportation and delivery solutions. So what are these robotic transportation? So actually, the image there is from the Continental Company. Actually, this company has been working to combine driverless vehicles and deployable robot dogs to successfully deliver packages and goods. So actually, the prototype showed a good light vehicle that was designed to decrease the idle time and improve capacity. Okay. The second innovation is we have the AI in vehicles. So here, uh, the NVIDIA and Mercedes-Benz have started working on the partnership aimed at developing AI in cars. So they are creating a system that will have a smart cockpit, self-driving capabilities, and of course, a lot of features. So, which is this is much better way than the current system of having the multiple small processors called the electronic control units. So with each ECU or electronic control unit being responsible for one section of the car, in the new AI-based car, there will be a centralized single system model. So we have seen a lot of autonomous vehicles. And even during the SEA Games, there was one autonomous vehicle used in transportation. In transporting, I mean athletes from one point to the other. Next is we have the autonomous shuttles. Okay, so this is one that I mentioned earlier. So actually, the company that works with these shuttles is the Torque Robotics and the Transdev. Then for the one who loves to travel, so we have the delay predictions. So actually, we really experience the delay predictions. So another burning problems faced by the transportation today is the flight delays. That is actually in the US, the estimated cost due to flight delays are about 39 billion. And according to the study conducted okay, by the researchers at the University of California. So along with the financial loss, flight delay negatively impact passengers' flying experience. Negative experience while flying can undermine the transport company's value. Then, of course, I know that you're familiar with this one, the drone taxis. Okay, so drone taxis, of course, is one of the most exciting and innovative AI applications in the transportation. Of course, is the drone taxis. So this is a pilotless helicopters present in the unique solutions. Uh, Other countries already have developed this one, but I believe there was one Filipino researcher or inventor who was introduced in the use of the drone taxis, but I really forgot what's the name of the Filipino researcher. And here, of course, the last is the storage and warehouse management system. Uh, the benefits of using actually for the warehousing is using robotics. So these are driven by artificial intelligence. So actually, the robotics are more flexible, scalable than human. So actually, they use robotics in warehouse management system. So some of the examples of this technology for warehouse management system is this one. So the systems actually simulate the operations of the warehouse setup and provide a report card. And it provides the traceability and accountability, allowing warehouse managers and executives to see everything that happens in the warehouse in a real time or after the fact. So actually real time, the term there is real time. Kasi uh, uh, artificial intelligence, no, we're dealing really with the real time. It delivers real time data insights and process, and also scalable in which it can expand to serve growing warehouse operations. Another technology is the traffic violation system. So detects the license plate and that's ORCR. That's ORCR. The traffic violation is a no contact vehicle apprehension and violation report generation. So this technology uses artificial intelligence to spot motorists committing different traffic violations. So actually, we have one researchers or group of researchers here in the Philippines who developed the traffic violation system, and that is called Catch All. So these are the group of researchers from De La Salle University, headed by Dr. Dadios, Elmer Dadios, a professor of De La Salle. And actually, the project is funded by the PSHERD or the DOST PSHERD. So it's a contact traffic. It's a contactless apprehension for traffic violators. Then another is for logistics, integrated truck guidance. So here, so for this system, cameras are set up, define points, and detect the travel times. All information is collected at the central level. Then the processed traffic data is transferred back to the truck drivers via the smartphone app. And then after that, the information regarding the traffic situation and travel times is made available to shipping agents. So after these are just some of the technologies that we have. Now, let me proceed with how can AI support transportation and storage sectors? Actually, we have there in the previous slides, 89% that the transportation storage industries will benefit from AI. So how can AI support transportation and storage sectors? First is we have the that's the pedestrian safety. Okay, so that is one of the things that transportation and storage sectors could help, or the AI could support the transportation. Pedestrian safety. Imagine tracking pedestrian cyclist paths to minimize accident. Then we have what we call the autonomous vehicles. It's a self-driven vehicles. Then we have the public safety. It's tracking time data in real time. Then we have the traffic patterns. So causes of delays. It can predict the causes of delays, the reduction of traffic and congestion. And of course, it helps the corporate decision making to accurate predictions, methods, and forecasts. So these are just some of the things that AI can support transportation and storage sectors. Now let me proceed with the benefits and of course the some of the disadvantages of adapting AI in transportation and storage sector. So let me start with the positive effects of AI. So of course, one of the positive effects of AI is increased use of AI will ensure reduced labor costs while providing higher profits. So fully automated fleets will be there to resolve an issue of long driving hours and breaks, safety and traffic accident. AI can also have a huge impact on safety and traffic accidents. Driving at night is a great issue, and smart unmanned vehicles can significantly improve the problem. So autopilots, we have the autopilots, the unmanned vehicles that can operate without human. Then it also have a positive impact on the traffic management. AI methods enable us to forecast traffic by using traffic data and data about urban ongoing events, as well as suggest alternative routes by automations. Then complex infrastructures and various elements within cooperations or cooperation chains can be improved with the help of the AI through optimal route schedule, minimal waiting time, traffic detection, and of course, uh, help upgrade transportation planning and increase safety in general. So next is we have the negative effects of AI. So of course, no, so we could really not get rid with things that uh, will really happen once we implement the AI in transportation. Number one is the job flow. One of the drawbacks include job flow as it becomes or at least become a major issue of trucks or taxi drivers and other industry members. On the succeeding slides, we have their reports coming from the Department of uh, or a report from the WE or WEF or the World Economic Forum regarding the job flow. Next is we have AI implementation also represents drawbacks as undeveloped countries. So we'll face massive changes in utilizing such solutions and their infrastructures is not capable of providing maintenance. So again, this is a sad reality that undeveloped countries will really have problems in adapting artificial intelligence in transportation. Of course, the adaptation of AI could contribute to the company revenue by up to 10%. All existing business will need to develop and implement AI technologies to remain competitive within the industry, and high cost of developing, repairing, and maintaining the complex machines can be extremely high. So this is really of course, one of the drawback also of implementation of AI. Then, of course, the ethics. No? So ethics are also under revision. So until now, companies bringing AI to transportations really will have to take the ethics of AI seriously. So this is very important, the ethics. No? Now, let me talk about AI in the Philippine context. So let me ask, is the Philippines ready for 4.0 industrial revolution? Are we ready? So we'll have an answer for this one after we see the next slide. So in Philippine context, according to the WE Forum, the World Economic Forum in 2018, in the Readiness for the Future Production Report, they classified, or there are four archetypes or country archetypes. So the first is the high potential. After this is the first quadrant of the four country archetypes. This is the high potential. So simple structure of production and favorable drivers of productions. And what are the countries under this quadrant? We have the Australia, Hong Kong, Norway, and then the United Arab Emirates or the UAE. So simple structure of production and favorable drivers of production. Next is we have the leading, which is complex structure of production and favorable drivers of productions. And of course, we have there USA, Germany, Japan, and Singapore. Then we have the third, the nascent, the simple structure of production and unfavorable drivers of production. And that is the country belongs to that quadrant are Indonesia and Brazil. And where's the Philippines? Here we are. Philippines is rated as under this quadrant, legacy, complex structural production, and unfavorable drivers of production. So that's include India, Mexico, Thailand, and the Philippines. In the same article, the Philippines scored 6.1 out of 10 in the assessment, which highlights the unfavorable drivers of production in complex as prevalent and existing conditions in the industry. So, are we ready to embrace uh, artificial intelligence? For me, uh, not yet. Okay? But siguro time, no? Malapit na. Uh, Let me go back with the negative externalities of our AI in transportation. Uh, with this article, actually, this is one of the articles that's shared by us, by our research director and the research project, the research, the sale project leader. The article is entitled "Automation Could Displace 19.3 million Filipino workers." So this was published last December 12, 2020 by Bernie Cahiles Magkilat. So it was published in Manila Bulletin. So the article, actually part of the article states there, automation and digitalization in the operations of various industries are expected to displace 19.3 million Filipino workers if they fail to upskill or reskill. So one of the expert associate partner at McKinsey and Company, so he said in his presentation at the Manufacturing Summit 2020 that the automation will impact all sectors and millions in the Philippine economy, adding the 19.3 million workers that will need to be skilled or reskilled. So according to McKinsey, in their study showed that manufacturing sector, which employs 3.4 million Filipinos, will be the hardest hit because 61% of employee activities can be automated. That's manufacturing. But how about for the transportation sector? So actually, according to the Department of Trade and Industries in 2019, with the same article, the second most affected domestic sector would be the transportation sector, where 55% of each 2.9 million jobs are potential for automations. Okay, that's 55. That's nearly the same with the first slide that we had. That's 57%. Okay, anyway, this is the global. Now, so again, it's almost 2.9 million jobs in in transportations. Not to mention with other sectors. Now to conclude, so compared with the 19th century, artificial intelligence has changed the way the transport and storage industry operates today. Even if people don't see artificial intelligence in motion, it personally affects individuals and companies. So millions of people will be need to reskill in the next 10 to 15 years. So once again, thank you. Thank you for listening and good day.
Thank you very much, Engineer Darumal, for that sharing regarding AI in transportation and storage. Indeed, there will be a lot of impact, positive and negative externalities when we try to adopt AI in the different sectors, especially now that we're discussing retail, transportation, and storage. So I think I'm reading a lot of discussion in our chat box right now. So I just like to share with the participants. The last few are coming from Mr. Reverend. He said that I know that you're reading also the chat box, but I'd like to share it with everyone that international companies operating in your country will adopt it. SME who cannot catch up will face out of competition. So this is really true as agreed by Father Tito, because basically, as mentioned by Ms. Tulid and Sir Durumal, usually the big players can cope with the changes, especially with the technological changes and adoption of AI. But what will happen for the small players will be, it's either they will catch up or basically they will be phased out of the competition. So those are just some of the things that will be happening in the next few years, maybe in our country. And as mentioned also by Mr. Reverend in the chat box, that he shared that international companies will have the capacity, especially maybe the developed countries will have the capacity to move on and develop the AI, because as mentioned by our speakers, it will take a lot of finances to do so. And mentioned by Engineer Durman, he said, are we ready for the AI? Sir, you said, not yet. Maybe not yet for now, but remember there is a roadmap, a national roadmap moving towards technological advancement, and that includes AI. So I think we are now ready for the open forum for the participants. You're welcome to ask some questions to our speakers. They are ready and very willing to share and clarify things with you. So anyone who'd like to ask the question, the first question, if you're going to raise some question, please identify yourself and the institution that you belong so that you will be properly recognized. You can raise your hand, or if not, you can use the chat box. So I'd like again to recognize, actually we have as far as Ilocos, we have participants from Marcos Mariano State University. We have Ma'am Agbayani. We have also participants from the University of San Agustin, Iloilo. We have also participants from Colegio San Agustin, Bacolod. And we'd like to acknowledge also the presence of the Vice President for Academic Affairs of CSA Bacolod, Dr. Jerion Cabarles, who's with us. Thank you, sir, for joining this afternoon's webinar. So if you can still remember the sharing of Ms. Tulid, I was really struck by the employment also, the employment effect, also with the transportation, because as mentioned by Ms. Tulid, she said in the employment sector, in terms of retail, it's either the employees will be displaced, or if you wanted to be in the retail sector still, you have to be retrained or reskilled. And I know it will cost a lot for the companies. So it's really a big decision for the upcoming years for a lot of business sectors, especially in the retail industry. However, one good thing I think for the retail is with the help of AI, business people or business companies will have a targeted shoppers, like as mentioned, find hesitant shoppers. So you do not be surprised if ever you get to receive the so-called as mentioned by Ms. Tulid, the gift certificates, the freebies, but in a shorter period of time, just to push the shoppers to avail the product. At the same time, you are already having the chatbots. So there are a lot of things really to learn from with regards to AI, because basically this is something new to most of the people. Okay, so that's why this platform was organized by SAIL 2.0 project team, because AI is maybe familiar to some, but majority I think are not yet. And as mentioned by Engineer Durumal, it's everywhere. We have the AI in the chatbots, we have AI in the language translation, and so on and so forth. So can we have the first participant to raise the question for our speakers? Anyone? Okay. So first question is from Mr. Alfred Reverend. I am a machine learning engineer. Wow. Okay. So we have a machine learning engineer with us. I design models for the AI function. Our team worry often if the AI product make mistake and the client files a legal complaint. Who is to be put to trial? Technically, the most we can give for ML model accuracy is 97% to avoid overfitting. This means there will be isolated cases of errors. Hard because those who are not in this field can't make sense out of it. If you push it to 100%, then it will overfit and can only predict well in training set and not other data. So basically, if I have interpreted it right, sir, you're trying to share with us the experience in the ML machine learning in machine learning industry. So the 3%, so we say 3% error is a leeway or a window for possible legal complaints. So it's a good thing that we get to learn from the experts who is a machine learning engineer that we cannot have really 100% accuracy because they have the so-called overfitting. Okay, very technical at that part, but at least now we are learning more with our participants. So no 100% accuracy because this is so-called overfitting. So that means to say, by the time that we get to look into some AI machines or AI application, we cannot really look for 100% because according to Sir Reverend, there's no such a thing as 100%. Okay, so thank you for that sharing, sir, because we get to learn also from you as our participants who's an expert in the field. Next, we have Ma'am Patiluna. So this is Ma'am, sorry. This is, okay, Sir Bayani Patiluna, a professor from Cebu Doctors University. Sir, thank you very much for joining and welcome to this webinar. So congratulations, Ms. Tulid, for the nice presentation on AI. So Ms. Tulid, after congratulating you, Sir has a question. In the next 5 to 10 years, how will you expect to improve our local industry using AI? So I think he is referring to your topic, retail. Ms. Tulid, can you please answer? Thank you.
So again, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Professor Bayani Patiluna. He is one of my professors in CDU, Cebu Doctors University, where I am completing my master's degree. So for your question, Professor Patiluna, in the next 5 to 10 years, how would I expect to improve our local industry using AI? There are actually a lot of articles, sir, that I've somehow read, and different articles say different things. They predict different time frame on the transitioning to automation. Now, in the next 5 to 10 years, for me, it actually depends on the availability of resources, particularly on the players in the retail industry, as what mentioned by Ms. Desiree. Those who are big players in the retail industry, those who are front runners, or who are very decided to convert their business operations to automation will have a great probability of having a successful AI adoption. And of course, this would follow improving their overall business process. Next, the improvement in the production of their products will also be enhanced, plus their marketing strategies will be also improved. Now, to those big players, they have what we call the big opportunities to improve, to excel here in the Philippines and also globally. But for some, and for majority of the players here in the retail industry, especially here in the Philippines, they have what we call limitations, and what of which would be finances or financial resources to invest in AI adoption. And if the big players, if the competitors in the retail industry are so improved, these non-front runners or those part of the retail industry that don't have automated business operations yet will lag behind, and this will put pressure, of course, on those businesses. The result will be there will be strain on the prices of their products, plus the strain on the wages that they provide to their employees. So, in conclusion, again, the movement or the improvement in the local industry is quite blurry in terms of converting those jobs to full automation. to full automation, Professor. That's my take on this one, based on the different studies that I've read and the different interpretations of those studies that were provided. Um, yeah, that were provided online. So, sir, if you have any additional questions, I can somehow I will find in my power to answer that one.
So thank you very much, Ms. Juliet, for the answer
Answer.
to Sir. So now, going back to the question of Sir Reverend, actually, yes, Father Tito, it is really a legal issue being asked by Sir Reverend. So thank you for that, because if any of the speakers would like to answer the question of Sir Reverend in terms of the legal liabilities of the ML engineers to the 97% accuracy versus the 3% window. But as of this time, I think we need, as the SAIL 2.0 project is moving towards the development. I think, yes, thank you very much, Mr. Hilado. So I think we have Sir Hilado to directly address the concern of Sir Reverend. Yes, Sir Hilado, please do so.
Hello, good afternoon. I would like to address the question of Fred. Actually, Fred is a connection of mine in the data science community. I think there's one project we were together, so I invited him over. Fred, to the most of my knowledge currently right now, whether you are free from the lawsuit in case the model commits an error and you happen to be the ML engineer. Of course, I see your point that all like humans, models can also commit errors, and there's no perfect model. That's why you say that it can only be pushed to 97%, and higher than that, then that's practically an overfitted model. So, uh, to the most that I have read of recently, the concern is if you're using open source, if for example you're developing uh, machine learning models, the AI tech is powered by a machine learning or deep learning model via Python and R or Julia or Java and other open source, then you are held accountable for that. Mainly because you are at the core in the creation of the model. However, if you are using uh, commercial packages or commercial softwares for modeling, um, for example, you're using IBM or Azure of Microsoft or AWS of Amazon, then from what I've read, um, uh, these companies could back you up in those complaints, mainly because in the commercial platform, the software has the capacity to do the modeling for you. It becomes automated, so the software could choose the appropriate model for you. But when you're using open source, it's usually the data scientist or the machine learning engineer who's really looking at the technicality of things. Yes. So I think that's all now.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Hilado, for enlightening us. So hopefully, Sir Reverend, through Mr. Hilado, we have answered your question. And as mentioned, just to reiterate, if the engineer is using the open source, that means to say you are at the heart, you are really the ones developing everything from scratch. You have, based on his reading, the full, in a way, you have legal liabilities. But if an expert happens to use the commercial product, basically you have the company to back you up. So hopefully that helps, sir. So can we have another question from our participants? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Father Tito?
Well, I think as regards to the legal liabilities, even in the transportation sector, for example, who takes the liability in a driverless car accident, Is it the are we going to charge the company who made the driverless car, when he runs over a pedestrian? So those are the things that has to be discussed in uh, by by the government. So that's why there's a need to clarify this uh, through a legislation. So I think that this is where the conversations that we are trying to create these webinars, to create this awareness, so that when when we bring this to the government, we have the necessary data and the necessary questions that will address these fundamental questions, especially on the legal liabilities. No? So these are the legal and also ethical issues that we have to consider. So I think that's also one thing that I noticed, even in the transportation sector, no? In the driverless uh, transportation services, these issues can also be raised.
Well noted, Father. Actually, that's good thing that the Reverend has raised the question on the legalities, because basically, as I mentioned a while ago, as part of the rationale, this is an advocacy campaign also at the same time, other than the awareness on AI, because part of the advocacy is really to emphasize the ethical and responsible use of AI, and comes with it the legal liabilities, as mentioned by Father and Sir Reverend. So it's really good thing that we are discussing these things during this session, this webinar, and it's really enriching the discussion. It may be just retail and transportation. Now we're looking into the legalities, and that's one point that we're really going to consider, Sir Alfred, Reverend, because as mentioned, we are really targeting to hopefully come up with a policy, have somebody to sponsor the policy from the lower to the upper house, because if we try to look into it, if we are going to apply AI, there will be a lot of gray areas. So that means who takes the responsibility over something that was created by somebody else. So as mentioned by Father, if ever a transportation company will try to buy an AI run transportation, so if ever there's an accident during the use of the transportation run by AI, so who will be the responsible individual? Will it be the company, transportation, or will it be the people behind the AI technology? So thank you very much for this enriching discussion. So anything more, any more participants would like to share your thoughts, or you'd like to ask or raise some questions? So we're just really happy on the end of this SAIL 2.0 project, because there are a lot of things being discussed in here, and that will really help in the crafting of the possible policy when we are moving towards the policy development. Because we will be, as I would like to just emphasize that we are recording actually every seminar or every webinar for the documentation and for the sole purpose of the SAIL 2.0 project. That means to say this document, this data will only be for the SAIL 2.0 project, but the discussion, just like the legalities, what will happen in the 5 to 10 years, according to Sir Bayani, will be some data that we'll be considering in discussing things and in crafting the policy with the legislators or the policymakers that we'll be dealing with in the next few months. So any more participants would like to raise some question, or would just simply would like to share your thoughts or your take over what we've discussed? So after listening to our speakers, after the discussion, so after this one, so what's AI for you right now? Okay, actually, Sir Reverend is again sharing, Sir Alfred is sharing something. So startups can't afford commercial platforms. Yes, it's true, because basically it's usually technology is very expensive, but this is a nice insight. We create the model, but when it is deployed or automated and processing, it receives the data and uses the algorithm to decide. One thing we have decided in our team is to make this emphasize in the contract that errors, though minimal, is part of it, but companies who are not into the technical aspect, they shy away from us when they wouldn't be needing us ML engineers because this AI can sustain on their own. That's one thing actually. It's part of the discussion of the team that if the companies will be utilizing will be using the AI technology and they know already how to fully operate the AI, that's the time the so-called, as mentioned by engineer Alfred said, they will be no longer needing these people. But remember, at the end of the day, they are the designers, they are the creators of AI. They know the ins and outs of it. That's why it's really a good thing to really discuss it as part of the policy. What will be the extent of the involvement of the ML engineers towards the application and the use of the technology in a long-term basis? Because remember, even though if, for example, we will be buying the technology, we are not ML engineers. If something happens in the algorithm and if there are some things being introduced by the company who bought that technology, at the end of the day, it will go back to the ML engineers who develop it, who will fully understand the system. So that's a good point, sir, that you have already mentioned that. So well noted. So anything more from the participants? I think our director here, the SAIL 2.0 director and the SAIL 2.0 managers are here. Everything is noted, sir. Especially that we need sustainable development. That means to say everybody must be sustained. That means to say the ML engineers must be there, the companies must be there, and at the same time, we are. I think we should be one community working together to ensure that everyone will be in its proper position, that nobody will be left behind. Just like as mentioned, if the AI technology will push through, no in it's like not enough displacement of the people will happen. Okay, so Sir Hilado, you're acknowledged. Anything to share, sir?
Hello, Miss Des. I
Yes,
just
sir.
like to share on what Fred also mentioned. No, yeah, that is true because recently, right now, data science and machine learning is like hot cake for everyone, and I think many people are thinking that this is a gold mine. That once you jump in, and it will be promising something really nice. Well, it's been with us for quite some time, and if you look at it on in an international perspective, there are so many countries already who are into this. But it doesn't mean that we don't get some share of the pie, right? So even if we put some efforts into this, the point I think here of Fred, what he's saying is, do we still have enough time to get some share of the pie? Because probably we see a future. It says here 10 years. We see a future that in 10 years, it will be so saturated that many of these companies have already adapted their own uh, applications for ML or AI, that after you have trained for quite some time to become an ML or a data scientist, you no longer could find a project because many of these companies already have their own. And as he said here, if it's reinforced learning, wherein let me just share what reinforced learning is. Usually, this is a more specialized form of machine learning. Usually, the common ones are supervised and unsupervised. But in reinforced learning, uh, your machine learning model learns on its own, and that's so the data scientist just creates it and then eventually deploys it, and it becomes independent on its own, not unless if there are bugs. But if the ML engineer is really good and he created uh, an application that could really learn on its own and could sustain on its own, then they become redundant because they won't be needed. Unless otherwise, the machine learning engineer is wise to not create one that is really good, so that from time to time they will be called for some troubleshooting. But I think, well, you never could tell because you are in an arena where there is lots of competition, and probably others will prove that they could create better ML or better AI technologies with run by better machine learning or deep learning models that could learn on its own. So eventually, if we find our place wherein these technologies are already deployed and they are self-sustaining, everybody will be affected, even the engineers themselves. No? So I think I could really relate to this, no, to Fred. No, of course, I myself, I venture into data science, but time and time again, at the back of my mind, I'm also thinking that way. Eventually, this will become saturated. There will be really good AI, especially if you are faced with people who are working in the big tech companies where they are at the forefront of technology. So eventually, even if you have that kind of knowledge, if the AI is already there and deployed, it's already learning on its own. What more can you do? So yeah, so that's the reason why he mentioned here he just jumps from one project to another. I think making the most while it lasts, something like that.
So well noted, Sir Hilado. So at the I think both of you, Sir Fred, and you can really relate because you are actually doing the thing in data science and Sir as an ML engineer. So kumbaga, strike while the iron is hot. That's why he said that moving from one project to another. So it's well noted because if you're going to discuss these things with the lay people like us who are not into the data science, who are not ML engineers, we will not be seeing such perspective because we personally I've been thinking all the while that the ML engineers, the data scientists will be there, especially the name of the game right now is technology. But looking into the other side, people who are into it are looking for the possibility that time and again, if the AI will be working on its own, it will be evolving and will learning on itself. Basically, at the end of the day, there will be a possibility that the experts themselves will be phased out in a way, in some perspective or some area, because the AI itself will be developing. So at least a good point because we are also learning from people like you. And this is really the essence of the whole webinar to really raise the awareness to make more people see the effect not only for the different sectors, but now we are seeing actually the effect to the actual experts who are into the business and the industry of AI. So yes, Father, when we reach artificial super intelligence, yes, true. That's the thing that actually that the SAIL 2.0 project is very much concerned of, that it should not always be the machine and the AI to supersede the human intelligence and the human control, but it should be always the human capacity or the human intelligence to control over the machine, not the other way around. Because we will be having a big trouble when it comes to ethics. We'll be having a trouble when it comes to balance of the society. Because remember, machine is always a machine. Humans are far different and far higher than the machines. So, Sir said, yes, they will think of us as inferiors and might decide to obliterate the weak links. 2030, it might come or early. Yes, sir. I think in our experience right now, technology has been hastened. Kumbaga parang pinastruck siya because of the pandemic. Should have been developed in the next 3 to 5 years, but the technological platform right now is really moving forward, hastened because of everything. So hopefully these policies that we're trying to work on, the awareness campaign, the advocacy that we work on, that's why we are really campaigning for the participants to join us and asking the help of your colleagues, your institutions to join us in this campaign. Because actually, this is if we're not going to think about the next 5 to 10 years, just like the ML and the data scientist thinks, we will not be able to prepare, and that lack of preparation will have a big blow against the human society, especially the Philippine society. Remember, the MLs are worrying, the data scientists are worrying what will happen to them in case the AI will be learning on its own. How much more for people like us who doesn't have enough information and understanding on the technology that might be ruling over the society. So no artificial intelligence. So legally binding would challenge existing business models. Yes, it's true. Actually, AI will really, if I may say, it will make create 360 degrees change because that's not only employment but also the legalities, the legal legalities, because the business models will change, the way we treat the businesses, the transportation. Maybe the insurance company will have no difficulty on how to insure people when accidents happen. because there's no direct contact between human to human. So kumbaga, wala nang human error. So sino ang kakasuhan? If we're going to file a case against the AI technology, just imagine bringing the technology or the AI personality in court. So how will these things happen? So I think we should be more futuristic in this term. Sophia is just marketing propaganda. Maybe 2030 there was a time when it was all about the race to the moon. Now it is a race to AI. Yes, it's true. So marami talagang changes. Race to the moon dati, parang yun talaga parang hinihintay ng mga tao. Ngayon race to AI na. But remember, AI will be affecting not only the race to the moon, but it will affect not only the Earth, maybe the universe, how people or how the people will be treating technology, bringing it to Mars, to the different planets. Because right now, there is, kumbaga, maraming possibilities. When AI will be in place, mas maraming possibilities na ma-open. So, anything more from our participants? Truly, sir. That's why it's really a good platform for us. Good to have experts. Good to have people from the academy. We have Ma'am Agbayani from Mariano. We have you as an ML engineer. We have people from the academy. We have the AA with us. We have the faculty. We have people from the different profession. We have nurses. We have medical technologists. Because basically, if we talk AI, it's not only for the technical people, for the computer expert people, but it's for everyone. So, like as mentioned by Sir Alfred, like horses with blinders, we should never forget, as mentioned always by Father Tito, ethics, humanity first before anything, any machine. We are more superior. We are far better. And we should always remember that it's the human population who created the machine, and we should not allow the machine to rule over the humanity. Okay, so I think we have a very enriching and very meaningful discussion today from 1:30 to 3:30. Suppose we're exceeding our time, but we're just happy to be with you, and we're just happy that this webinar is so engaging, and the participants are really participative, very generous to share your ideas. So hopefully you will be joining us with the next schedule. So just a reminder. So again, would like to thank Ma'am Levina Agbayani from Mariano Marcos State University. Sir Reverend, sir, sorry, I think you're with Sir Hilado. So maybe you're from what institution, sir? If you can be able to. Okay. So you're based in Malaysia right now. Okay, thank you for that. So it's not a national webinar now, it's an international thing because we have Sir Reverend coming from Malaysia. And thank you for taking the time to be with us. So maybe the number is not really significant, but it's the quality of the discussion and the webinar that we have, because only few people, but very enriching and very informative. So thank you very much for everyone for joining us. And just a final reminder, we'd like to inform you that the evaluation for today's webinar will be sent through your email. So, and certificate also will be given after you have completed the evaluation form. And again, we would like to invite you and your colleagues, if your institution, to join us in our signature campaign with the link attached in the evaluation form. At the same time, the upcoming webinar series will be on December 21. It will be for the government and academe. December 28 for finance, agriculture, forestry, and fishing. For December 29, manufacturing and administration. We may be celebrating holiday, but we would like to ask and request that you join us, celebrate a meaningful holidays by joining the different webinars. So before we finally end and drop the whole thing this afternoon, we'd like to request everyone, if for a short period of time, you can open your video for us to take a picture. Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful time that you have given the whole team, the SAIL project team. And thank you very much for sharing with us more than 2 hours of your time. And for most of all, we'd like to thank our dear speakers, for the expertise that they've shared, for the information that they've shared, Ms. Tulid and Engineer Dormal. And for all the participants, thank you very much. And we are hoping and looking forward that you will be with us on the next schedule, December 21, 28, and 29. And then third party and constant contracts startups developing. Yes. Okay. So hopefully we will have some more people. Please do invite people. We are really happy to have more people so that we can raise more awareness. And remember, AI is not only for the computer experts. This will affect all sectors across the country, across the world. So if we'll not be able to prepare and put the policy in place, we might be left behind, and maybe our sectors will be least prioritized by the technological people. So thank you very much. Big thanks to everyone, to Professor Bayani, to Sir Alfred Reverend from Malaysia, to Agbayani from Ilocos, and to everyone else who joined us and gave your time and your generous sharing of ideas. Thank you very much, and good day to everyone. Have a safe weekend.